Look at this.
Here we are.
Reunited once again.
Yeah. But truth be told, this, like, I mean, obviously we've seen each other and stuff, but this hasn't happened in a long time. Like sitting down for a bite to eat and kind of reminiscing, all four of us together. That's been
Good to see you guys.
Oh,
Jeff, don't worry, we called you an Uber.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. There's a new app too, right?
No, you're gonna have to teach him how to download the app first. He can't even turn his phone on.
yeah. So who would have thought?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're looking like even further back than ladder matches and all that stuff, and we're looking, what'd you get? If we're thinking back to like Funkin' Dojos,
Yeah.
and
That was.
but even prior to that, like, so my second pay-per-view is against Owen Hart at Breakdown in Hamilton, in your house. That's where all you guys debut.
Yeah. Obviously, it was before the Performance Center and like that. So we were at the training camps they were having in Stanford. And at the end of each one, we would have these
He's gifted me a kindness, green beans. Wonderful. Okay, sorry about the
No.
dreadful etiquette.
I got a coffee attack. So, but it was,
Dreadful etiquette. You were speaking.
so we're
words.
from North Carolina. It's all right.
Well, at least I used to. I used to eat with my hands. I can eat with silverware.
Got the eating sticks now, huh? Yeah. That was one of the. You used to eat with your hands.
Of course.
So
We were raised in the woods by animals, damn it.
We used to always make fun of, like, Matt would eat everything.
Yeah, with his hands.
With his hands, to the point where we started saying, these are your eating sticks.
Yeah.
You can use them.
And as you would say, Jay, it was gooder than hell.
Good or not. Yeah.
There's like so many inside jokes.
That are just
and
funny to
catch-
us.
that- but I mean, they just circulated amongst us for so long.
Well, it was funny because like they started doing these training camps, and the first time I ever met you guys, and we were like fast friends, right? Like we hit it off right away. I think the first night we met, we were laughing and joking and telling stories and stuff the entire night, and then we look at our watch, and like in an hour we had to be, at the camp, and we've been up hanging out and laughing the entire night. And we just hit it off, and like that, I think that was kind of the laying the groundwork for what was to come, and none of us realized at the time, but it was kind of, looking back now, like the start of the bond that we would have now, I feel like for the rest of our life, right?
Well, yeah, but that really does remind me of the fact that, like, we worked in a dark match,
Yeah, I remember that well.
and Bruce Pritchard was up in Gorilla, and remember he kept, because I used to do that bad Running Man, that really Caucasian version of Running Man, and he kept calling for it throughout the match.
It was the next night they told us they were going to.
You guys got signed, right? I knew it was close.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, that's when we kind of started the Brood with Gangrel.
That was such a cool moment. That freaky music came on, turning the strobe light.
One of the coolest entrances ever, I think. I mean, it was
I think so.
Really cool special.
And the
great
music,
great
too.
vibe,
That music, everything about it.
And I think
the whole atmosphere.
And I think too, because of the music and the entrance, I think people feel like it was around longer than it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't even around a year.
No, it wasn't
And
around
people
long
still
at all.
talk about it. So, I mean, it left an impression.
Yeah,
people.
those flames, like you said, though, because it was on a rope, and the flames would start to go in when they got really high. And I remember I used to wear those PVC trench coats, and one night it was melting. Like, I was watching it bubbling, and I was like, oh no.
Didn't Dave get his foot caught in the elevator one
Yep.
time? And he couldn't get out, and he was doing the...
With the smile, the same smile he'd get when you punch him in the face and catch him, and he'd be like, oh, that deal. I always kind of forget the fact that Gangrel was with you guys for the ladder match.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of one of those.
That is, yeah. Not
Right?
easy to forget. Yeah.
I know.
I don't know, that whole kind of shift there was a little bit strange in itself, right? With you guys going with
Really?
Gangrel. Yeah,
And it was so like there was no long-term planning, really.
Right.
Because we did the thing with Michael, and we could have went further, but then I remember like when they told Michael he was leaving us, like I remember that morning, like 7 a.m. Guys are gonna split us up. We gotta stand our ground, and
Yeah.
he was enjoying what he was
Yeah,
doing,
sure.
and I will always give Michael credit. I mean, he taught me more than anybody else had. I just remember when he said, yeah, you Hardy Boys, you can do all these pretty moves. Jeff jumps off your back and does that cool kick in the corner. He says, but do they really think you can whip someone's ass? And he said, why don't you take his head off and then beat him up afterwards? And a lot of stuff started clicking with all that. So he helped out greatly in so many ways. But you know, whenever they put them away, because I think, you know, they just said, oh, well, if you guys are going to grow on your own, you have to be alone, you know. But then we ended up doing the deal with Dave for a little bit, and it almost felt like it was that same type deal, because after we had that match, you're like, oh, these two teams are going to be fine on their own.
Right. I don't think anybody could like foresee what was going to come out of it, though, right? I don't know if anybody knew.
Never.
No, I think
it was
the four
going to
of us
change
did,
kind of the
to an
landscape.
extent.
Yeah, well, that's what we were hoping for, and that's what we were trying to do. But I don't know if anybody else was like, well, these guys are going to go out there and change the business in a certain sense, right? Because
Yeah,
you're right,
take it in a different direction, and you know when you can feel a crowd, and you could feel it that night.
The atmosphere that was in the building the night of the tag team ladder match, I mean, it was like physical. When you jumped off the ladder and you drop kicked him, you know, that was the first one. And then it just built every time. And you could just feel almost physically the people being invested in it emotionally. By the end, when no matter who won or lost, like both teams were like, "Oh my God, we're Harold," you know, it's like,
Everybody
that was
won.
amazing. Thank you for your effort, you know. It's kind of around the time where the business was really changing, where the smarter fans were like appreciating work rate,
Right.
and stuff. But then, like, for it to carry over that next night, I never expected that at all.
It could have gone either way. But last night, 20,000 people gave the four of us a standing ovation.
And so are the fans here. The fans are doing it here right now, here at Ohio State University, rising to their feet. Will you look at this?
I'd never gotten a standing ovation.
Right.
I didn't know what that felt like or what that was. So when that started happening, it was just like, okay, we tapped into something last night.
But I remember having the match, and I remember coming back and seeing Stone Cold, seeing Steve, and he said, well, hell, boys. He said, kids, you guys killed it. There ain't no topping that. That's the match of the night. He said, you guys certainly stole the show. And that was like pretty overwhelming praise, considering he was like the hottest guy ever at that time, right? You know, so.
That's what that locker room was. It was just everybody in a good way, but competing to steal the show.
And that's what makes everything better, too, just the product in general.
Yeah. Like when we would all sit down to put together matches and ideas and the TLCs, and then we'd have Michael and the Dudleys, and we'd all kind of start spitballing stuff. We always knew there was going to be one doozy from Jeff. And it was either going to be the Frogger,
Right, yeah.
or it was going to be, you know, just the fall off backward off the ladder,
Yep.
or and trying to, you know, go, okay, how can we fit it in? And the Frogger, I remember, like if you go back and watch WrestleMania 17, I liked that it went the way it did. I mean, I know you probably go, man, I wish it had gone completely.
It was very
clean."
real, though, man.
But it
Very
looked-
real, yeah.
It looked legit because it was.
Jeff Hardy on walking the tightrope.
In a broad stroke, I think it just adds a lot of reality to things, too, when things happen like that. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? And he eats it, but it's like a very real world thing. Like he's trying to walk across ladders that are 10 or 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out. You know, if it did, like, oh my God, he's Superman. But if it didn't, big deal. It still totally works in the context of the match. You know?
And understanding the business is what you can watch that back now, and like when I do fail, like you can just, you know, whatever. You can see the anger.
You were hot. I remember you were hot. I was like, oh man.
He never got hot then, right?
Well, because
you know,
he,
was very
also
rare.
because he fought for it, right? Because we were all like, I don't know, Jeff. And he was mad because there was some discussion of whether it would work or not, and there was some people that were doubting that it would work, and you know,
And they were right.
You were passionate about getting that. And you wanted it. Was that?
And they were right.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying though that like that you cared that much about it that you were willing to like.
Oh, for sure.
Fight
Yeah,
for
go
it,
for
and
it.
you did.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, yeah, and then it happened. Man, I just hearing you, just can't repeat what he was saying now, but it was pretty funny.
And do you even remember, like, that night, that was Houston, right? The Astrodome.
Yeah.
And I remember after, we were kind of like, okay. I mean, everything went the way we pictured it, but it didn't sound like, at least I remember how I thought it would sound. Like, I thought it was going to be unglued, unhitched. There'd be instant gratification. And that was the first time that any of us had worked a dome.
Yeah.
And understanding
One of the old domes.
Very,
the one that
yeah,
has
the acoustics and how bad the acoustics are, and there's a reason bands really don't play them. It's because the sound goes up and has to bounce back to you, so there's that delay, which affects performance. Luckily, I don't think there was enough of us, and we all stayed in the moment, but I just remember thinking, man, I thought they'd be louder.
Crowd reaction is your most instant feedback,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, like if they're, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, your job is to entertain them. And if they're loud and they're into what's going on, you know, it works. And you're right, you just couldn't hear it there. And watching it back makes you feel a lot better. I remember it did whenever we all checked it out. That's still, I think that is the most, of the matches we had, the 3 teams, the most solid story-wise and psychologically from.
I think we had a little more time than the first TLC in Raleigh. I just remember that was balls to the walls for like 15 minutes. What was great about those, I always thought, is that there was 6 of us. So while 5 or 4 guys can sell, the other 2 can keep the pace going and keep the action. It never stops. It just feels like a complete roller coaster the whole time, like going down the hill kind of thing.
Right.
A lot of messed up stuff in that match, and I'll never forget the Devon and Jeff hanging from those belts.
And Devon's terrified of heights. He didn't want to do it, and I think we tried to make it work with somebody else, but realistically where we were at in the match and what we had put together up to that point, it had to be him or we had to scrap it.
Yeah.
And he took one for the team. He's like, all right, I'll do it. He was terrified.
He was.
Drew the
He was
short
locked out, too. Locked out. I'm sitting here with his biceps and triceps power.
That CrossFit
You ready to go?
Yeah,
CrossFit.
Yeah.
I ain't ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. No, not yet.
I just remember down there, he goes, stop it, Jeff. Stop it.
Stop kicking me. Jeff, stop kicking me.
Yeah.
And we had to be ready with the ladder so we could hear all of this happening. So tried not to laugh too, and hoping he's okay. But then, sure enough, man, he just
Like a champ.
Oh, wow. What a legendary moment.
I mean, even like on this, like I see those clips all the time, and I'm sure you guys do too if you're ever just going through Twitter, like the big spots from those matches. You know, the spear off the ring.
That's
like,
what I was going to. You remember, like,
still-
rehearsing that?
Yeah.
I remember, like, Bubba, like, pulling, I had it with my feet and him pulling it back, and I don't remember whose idea it was, actually, as far as what if.
Oh, it's
probably.
It was my. I think
It was your
It was mine.
Jay will take credit for us.
Yeah.
He jumped in quick, so we'll give it to him.
Yeah.
For sure it was mine.
Yeah.
You can,
It happened organically, you know, like as
because I remember you could hook your feet and we'd drug the ladder.
Yeah, and you can still watch that, and it reminds me of like this big ass spider, you know, like basically
Yeah.
it's hopping around, but then Bubba grabs it, pulls me back. Wow.
Man, it
Well,
was,
and all the things that could have gone so horribly wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the timing of it worked.
Oh my God! And for the 20-foot ladder with a spear on Jeff Hardy.
And I just remember, like, I hit that mat and I was seeing stars. I was like, man, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, if I feel this way,
Right.
what the hell is Jeff feeling? And trying to lie there just to see if you were, like, at least cool, you know? Like,
Yeah.
is he aware of what's happening right now?
Speaking of crazy ideas, you guys remember the
Ladder.
triangle ladder match
Yeah.
at WrestleMania in Anaheim? And we came up with the idea for the table that was going to be set up for the final thing. And
Ladder City.
Yeah. And you were going to go up and you were going to have your hand on it. We would both push you off, and you would take that crazy bump through the thing. And I remember climbing up, and the ladders were kind of shifting. I was like, oh my God, if
Yeah, it was wobbly.
you can't like push off properly and make that, I'm like, that's all that was going through my mind. But I just remember being up there and watching and just seeing your feet. It looked like it was something from a video game. Just like it was.
Well, and how about that? Like, that match was a tailbone whacker for you two, because you did the deal on the table with Bubba, ass first on the concrete.
Short time bomb! Top of the ladder! To the floor! Through the table! Good night, Bubba Ray Dudley! Good night, Jeff Hardy!
You took that bump, and in order not to clip the top rope, you could tell you like had to kind of tuck it in, so you landed on your ass too.
Yeah.
That was.
They had to turn to Sonic the Hedgehog there. You know, it's
Jimmy
funny.
Hips helped on that one.
Oh,
Jimmy
for sure
Hips.
they did. Beneficial. I think I wanted to like try and stand up and like I was gonna unhook the titles almost before you guys shoved me, but it was so wobbly and unstable. I couldn't. I was just like on a knee, kind of like holding myself. And if we would have tipped over, we would have, we'd been done.
And I think it was me that shoved you, right? And I could tell
so.
this is going to end horribly unless we just do this now.
Yeah, through telepathy, I tried to send you the message. Go on without me.
And I remember then trying to stand, and I
Before
got
the ship sinks, go on without me.
I love you, brother. Good luck. And I remember standing on that thing after, because one of us had to stand to get the belts.
Yeah.
There
I
was-
can stand up, yeah.
There's no other way to actually get them unless you
Yeah.
did it. And I just remember thinking, okay, I've never surfed before, but I'm pretty sure this is what it's got to feel like. So I just got to try this. And if everything goes wrong, I'm just going to try and surf into the first row, and hopefully it all works out.
Last year at WrestleMania 33, when we came back, someone put the wrong ladder in for the finish because the belts were up a little higher. It was supposed to be a 10-foot ladder. So we get the belts. That's how we measure them. And I was going up to get the belts. Like, I literally had to get 1 foot, like, on the top and on the other thing. It was so shaky. And I was going, God, if I fall over and I don't get this other title after this amazing pop-in reaction, this is going to be terrible. And I'm pulling it down. Oh, yeah. But that's all that's going through my head. That's all I'm concerned about.
place explodes, complete surprise. You kept it under wraps, and then fall at the
And
end.
they have an 8-foot ladder, and I'm like trying to stretch and do DDP yoga to get the titles down, and I can't. It was like, who did that? What a rib.
You know, it's funny is that, like, think about it now, like, how important tag team wrestling is to all of us, and I always hold a special place to my heart because of, you know, what it did for us and all of our careers. And I don't think any of our careers where it went after would have been the same if we didn't have what we had. And I think for me, when we went singles, I think I was trying to overcompensate, you know, in certain things. Like, I was trying to prove, no, I can do this, I'm ready for this. So in that sense, I was trying to do too much. Instead of, like, letting things happen naturally, I was trying to force things. And I had a real hard adjustment time, to the point where I was like, I had to go home and I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, I think I'm gonna get fired. It's like, I don't think I can't do this. Like, I thought I could do it. And then I just kind of had to talk to myself and said, like, what are the things, what made you want to get into this? And I realized that I wasn't having fun anymore. And I was like, you know what, I'll just go out and do my thing. And it snowballed back up the other way right after that. Like, after I just kind of stopped putting the pressure on myself that I have to do it
Right,
to this
yeah.
level, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's important, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have that, you have to have a comfort in what
Yeah.
you're doing, you know. If you're always on pins and needles and pressure, it affects, I think, your performance and just your whole juju as far as doing everything.
I think we were both kind of flailing around for a little while trying to figure it out. And also, and I've said this about you guys too, I don't think the people ever wanted to see Matt versus Jeff or Edge versus Christian. I don't think they did. I think
agree.
they liked it together, and if they were apart, just let them do their thing.
I absolutely concur. I guess if you do anything with enough dedication and you try and put some thought process in behind, you can somewhat make it work. You know?
Well, yeah,
It's tough.
You do, right? And I always use the music analogies, and I'm not saying, you know, we're the Beatles of wrestling or anything, but when McCartney and Lennon and Harrison, when they first split, there was almost a blowback against it, you know. So their
Yeah.
careers didn't take off initially, but they saw it through, and I think that's what all of us did, is got through those initial growth processes to the point where, I mean, there's a point where you look and go, wow, we built it damn good on our own too, you know, on top of the tag team stuff, which can be kind of rare, you know. There's
for sure.
there's Brett and there's Sean,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And if you think about, we all were able to spin off and do our own things in all our own completely different way.
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it too, like when I look at Jeff, I mean, it always amazed me the connection that you had with fans, and it's something that I don't think you can teach. It's something either you have or you don't have, and you have some, like, a magnetism about you that you can't explain it. Right?
I mean,
and
right.
to me, I thought, you know, you were always going to be okay as a singles guy because you had that. And Matt, I mean, I think you bloomed a little bit later, like with the Woken and the stuff. I think that's kind of going to be your calling card when they think of your singles career, because it's just something completely on the opposite end of the spectrum of what the Hardy Boys were.
When we finally split, and I went to SmackDown and did Matt Hardy version 1. And that's just what I was looking to do, was do something different, because like the way we were promoted and portrayed as Team Extreme and the Hardy Boys, I mean, that's really him more than me, you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, I'm not really the guy that's crazy and loves to take all these chances and want to do Frogger spots and get Spirit off the deal holding the belts up and everything. Once I was able to do my own thing and I was like kind of, you know, I could be more personality driven or whatever, I think that was beneficial for me for sure. But like, it was great because he could still continue on doing the Hardy Boys deal, what he's doing, the Adrenaline Junkie or the, you know, Daredevil or the Fearless Person, whatever. But it was definitely much more him. And even I could tell like as time went on in that, I was like, it was hard for me to be in that role because that's not really true to like what I am as a performer, you know, or what I do, or even how I think. My mind doesn't quite work that way as far as the process.
Chair of wheels, more of lawn. Wonderful!
You know, sometimes on social media, I'll see people go, man, you need to get back out of all this crazy talk and doing all this stuff. And Senior Benjamin, like, get back to jumping off ladders and do tables.
I like that you threw a Cajun accent on that.
That was good.
Well, I think that tweet was from Baton Rouge.
I think it was from Lash LaRue.
It could have been.
But I'm thinking, I just thought of it, and we were talking about single stuff and everything, and I remember we were working in Buffalo, and I was glad I was in the match, and I was glad that you were hitting me with the Swanton, not so much after you hit me with it,
Right.
but going into it. I
Would you like some croutons with that stuff?
Ooh, there's a crouton. I think I just dropped a crouton in my tights, man. But I
Can I get that leg drop back off the cage?
I didn't feel that one.
Can I get it
The
back?
hell? I was like, we talked. I was like, that was a world title crouton right there. I got the real deal. But I just remember being really, really happy that you got to pin me for that title.
Oh, that's awesome,
and
man.
be
Thank
there
you
for
so
that
much,
moment
dude,
because I
for
just
that
remember
moment.
thinking like, man, all right, we did it.
Yeah, I've seen that spot so many times. You know, people, that's one of their go-tos as far as favorite moments. Man, when you won the title and you pinned Edge, you stood on that castle and you were the champion. It's like, nah, I kind of believe in myself, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, to experience that. And again, thank you for being a part of that.
No, I wanted, you know, I was just happy that it worked out the way it did and that it was that. And I remember trying to breathe and watching it with like a little smile on my face and like,
Oh, yeah.
damn, it hurt, but man, this is cool. Yeah.
Well, we realistically could probably sit here for a full day, but the reality is we all have kids we need to put to bed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So maybe later on down the line, maybe WWE Network, they'll turn it over to us for 12 hours. We'll
Yeah.
do a 12-hour nonstop
Marathon.
live stream.
A live stream.
I think we can do it.
like a telethon. Yeah, like a damn telethon.
Yeah, we'll raise money. We got families to feed, damn it.
it'll be gooder than hell.
It'll be gooder than hell.
Good times. Well, cheers.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Gotcha.
And in 2099, that ladder match will still be cool. The first one, yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, we'll be gone, but it'll be cool.
It's immortal.